Hi, in this video I will share with you some of the tips around how to run your team effectively. And it all comes down to one thing. It's making the strengths of your team and yourself and your manager effective. So staffing everything that you do around strengths is a winning formula. It has worked for me, and this book also reflects some of these principles. So let's go into that. So what does it mean to make strengths productive? Remember, everyone in the team, including yourself as an effective leader, you and I come with a lot of strengths, but we also have weaknesses. Keep this in mind, this reality that everyone has strengths and weaknesses. And if you keep this reality in mind, you will allocate people effectively. For example, there's this saying, one cannot just hire a hand, a whole man always comes. Because you can say, hey, the hands are doing the work, can I just hire the hand? No, you need the whole man. So there'll always be the full package. So if you can work and allocate people based on their strengths for the work that you need, and work around some of their weaknesses, helping them be aware of those weaknesses so that they can work on it, but like just focusing most of your time on people's strengths and maximizing that by allocating them smartly, then you have a winning formula. Because no matter who you hire, they will have some sort of weaknesses. And there are various types of strengths that you can look out for when you allocate based on strengths. Does the person have the right knowledge? Does the person have the right skill? What is their temperament? What are their value system? How is their behavior? Are they engaged into the kind of work that you want them to engage? Are they excited about it? Are they happy? Are they lost? Do they have the strength of character? Are they ramped up? Do they know everything that you want them to do, or are they going to be spending a lot of time ramping up? Because when you allocate people to projects, and if you want to run an effective team, you got to know what are the strengths and weaknesses that that person is bringing to the table. And you have to allocate based on strengths. Typically, a lot of leaders, including myself, we allocate people sometimes just enough, not based on strength. It's a mediocre decision, and I'm constantly striving to make it better. We allocate just enough, and that's not enough. We have to allocate based on the strengths to actually excel at that work. So if we make sloppy, quick, mediocre decisions, then that's bad. It doesn't help. So making sure you allocate based on strengths of the person is super, super critical. And there are many aspects of strength that I talked about. Same goes to you as a leader. Asking yourself this question, am I at the right place? Am I maximizing on my strengths? Is there a potential for full play of my strengths here in the team, in the project? Am I excited about the project? Am I learning? Am I contributing? And the focus is around strengths, maximizing your strengths as a leader. And also, when you allocate projects, this could be one big factor. Remember, all people decisions when it comes to allocations is some sort of a gamble. You don't know a lot of variables about the project, about what unexpected things would come. So it's some sort of a gamble. And same as people decisions, especially if those are new people decisions. You would want to ensure that you give everyone fair opportunity, but you'd also want to protect the downside so that you can actually get projects done. So make your decision rational is one of the things that the author is sharing in this book by allocating people based on their strengths. To such an extent that there is a potential for everyone in your team to be so excited, so motivated, they could bring out the best in themselves, the full play of their strengths. That's what's going to take them to the next level. Of course, there are going to be areas that they can get better at, and you as a leader are going to share some of those areas. But that's, I feel, that's not where we should be spending most of our time. Maybe 80%, maybe 70% should be on the strengths, maybe 10-20% on the weaknesses. If you find out that they have strengths that are good enough for the job, actually really good for the job, then they will have some weaknesses. So put up with some of those weaknesses if you think that the strengths weigh far more than the weaknesses that they bring in. And also realize that for any work that you allocate, is that work actually doable? Is it an impossible work that you're asking someone to do? And if that's the case, then you better make it clear to them and to yourself and to your leadership that what you're getting into. So allocate people based on strengths and ensure that the work is actually doable, that they're pushing ourselves to the next level. One food for thought is in Japan, I think this is the first time I found out reading this book, is like you cannot really fire anyone. So imagine, what if you had a team that you can never fire? I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do at all, but like that's one angle. How would you maximize people based on strengths? Maybe you do that. Also, this other angle of someone being indispensable or someone being too valuable to the team. Typically, you would want to simulate their removal because at some point they would leave. At some point, something can happen. So you want to simulate what the weak spot is. Do you need to train up more people? Is the leader that's managing them not effective to take up some of that work? Or is the person actually ineffective and is doing the work, but they could be doing better? So the leader could be ineffective. They've not thought through like what is the plan when they actually leave. The person could be ineffective because they could only do that job, and then that leader wants someone to do that job, but it's ineffective. Or there's no plan. So when you allocate based on strengths, and if you see that there is single points of failure where it's too hard to replace someone, then work proactively to stimulate what happens when. Because at some point it may happen with very high confidence. So you're already thinking through the next steps. Finally, the most important part, yourself being staffed with strengths, your team being staffed with strengths, and also your manager. You really need to spend time to understand like what are the strengths of your manager. Same thing. Staff and educate and use the strengths of your manager. Find out like what is it that your boss can do really well? What does he need from you so that his strengths can come out fully? What does he need from you, from your team? Find out like what kind of personality he or she is. Maybe they like to read information over email or text message versus listen to you. Everyone has a preference. Everyone has a clear preference. Someone likes summary, someone likes details, someone likes to engage early, someone likes to engage only. Your leader might want to only engage when it's the right time. So finding out like what is it that your leader and his preference is helpful. Is he a thinker? Is he a decision maker? Like ask these questions, reflect on these. So remember this, right? Like the leaders that you hire will set standards, will be the way people would follow him, would set records, right? So person of authority, it's very, very important to make sure that you staff them with strengths because the entire team will reflect who they are, how they do things, and remembering to always be genuine in this pursuit. Because if you're authentic and not trying to be someone else and you're actually using your strengths, you'll be natural, a leader. Okay, so that's some of the tips on allocating your team to run it effectively, basing off of strengths, identifying the right set of people, staffing it with the right set of strengths for yourself, for your team, and for your boss, and exploiting each areas and doing maybe an exercise with yourself first, with your manager, with your team members as to what are their strengths, and get deeper awareness of what is it that you could do to help them. Thanks. If you liked the video, or if you have questions, add it in comments below. Thanks.